museum out. It's fantastic when you go in there. They give you a bag of money when you leave, by the way. They do.
Shredded.
Hey, I say assembly required. Right on that corner, by the way, you saw a plaque on that. That was where, in the world, the time zones were invented. Now you think of time zones, Eastern Standard Time, Central, Mountain Standard Time, they're all around the world now. They were started here in the 1880s by the train companies. We're going to turn left at Dearborn, which is the next street up from here.
Okay.
So we're going to turn left up there.
All right.
So Chicago's the... Oh, I got to turn off my phone, sorry. Let it ring and it'll go stop. I want you to imagine your past, and I know you guys are all studying school, architecture, and history. I want you to imagine that until the year 1880s, all buildings in the world were built of stone or wood. And it wasn't until the 1880s where that guy, William LeBaron Jenney, took a horizontal bridge and turned it on its end and began the business of steel skeleton skyscrapers, and it happened here in Chicago. Now, as we go left here in a second, I want you to look to the right past the American flag over here. On the right side, you're going to see a red brick building, kind of rusty. Oh, they're all going the same way. That's good. You have 3 professional tour guides out here. We're all similar. So we're going to kind of go the same way. I'm not sure where these guys are going to go at some point, but I want you to look at this big red brick building over here. And as you look at the walls, you'll realize how thick the walls are at the base. This red brick building, called the Monadnock Building, over here on your right, was the last commercial building built in America without steel in it. It was built like a castle or a cathedral, which means the walls at the bottom have to be thick to support the weight and the height of the building. Think of yourself when you're playing with blocks when you were much younger. You would play and you want to build a big tall tower. In order for the building tall so it wouldn't tip over, you had to make a big thick wide base. Well, the same thing happens with architects. And as you go by this big red brick building here in just a second, you're going to see that the walls at street level are about 6 foot thick. 2 subfloors below, the walls are 16 feet thick. Again, you have to have a big base in order to support a tall building. And the reason we don't build buildings of stone anymore isn't that they're not safe or they don't look nice. It's that because every building you see here in the world is designed to generate income for somebody. It's designed from its square inch on up, and every square foot of floor space is rentable, and therefore that's how they make their money. And when you've got a 6 foot thick wall, what are you losing? Floor space. So they became impractical to actually build anymore because they weren't making profit for anybody. Now we're going to turn left here and look at this big red brick building here. This was the last of its kind in America. And just next to it, down the alley, you'll see another dark red brick building attached to it, built 1 year later. That was one of the very first buildings in the world that had a steel skeleton structure, which supports the building from the inside rather than the outside. Think of the difference in a building between you, which has bones on the inside, and a turtle, which has an outer shell. This building is a turtle building. The building over here on your left is a human building. It's got bones and structure on the inside which support it. Now it's cool if you come back here to Chicago, this little corner that we're going to turn left at, if you look to your right, there's like 4 buildings over here, this one here and a couple other ones, that date from the 1880s and the early 1890s. This is the Garden of Eden of tall buildings. It was here in Chicago that the skyscraper was invented, and everywhere around the world has been copying these things for 130 some years. But you're looking at literally the first buildings ever to have steel on the inside of them. And they're still standing. A lot of people thought, oh, they'll never last. Guess what? Look at these old buildings down here. You can stand really in the Garden of Eden. Get out of your way, sorry there, dear. Now we're going to be going down Dearborn Street. If you want to stay right in the middle of the road, that'd be great, hon. On your left, you're going to see the first of many art and sculpture. This is Alexander Calder. Alexander Calder liked to work in mobiles, steel floating things like you see over babies' cribs. Here in Chicago, we put this in 1974. Chicago was the first city in America to pass a law that requires art in every plaza, on every building, and in every building. In fact, if you're building a new building in the city of Chicago, 1.3% of your budget has to go to artwork. So starting in the 1970s, we started plopping these things in all the plazas, and we now call them plop art. That's Alexander Calder. Right up here on your left side, in the sunken plaza on the left, past the stoplight, you're going to see the Marc Chagall mosaic, painted by Marc Chagall, called The Four Seasons. Does anybody heard about Marc Chagall before? How do you know about Marc Chagall? Anybody heard his name? He was considered the most famous Russian Jewish artist of the 20th century, born in the shtetls of Russia. He started drawing as a young age. Much of his art has symbols in it, symbols from his past, symbols from the community, and he likes to do a lot of his art that show the seasons of a human life, from conception to child to middle age and adult and so forth. Here he combines the life of a person along with the life of a city. And even though it's kind of faded now and some art students are going to repaint it, you can see it over here on your left. Marc Chagall, free art to see in just a second here. This is cool.
Turn the air down just a little bit.
Can we turn the air down? Oh, sorry. Kathy's going to turn that down. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Chilly back there?
Yeah, thanks.
You can pass these guys if you want.
Oh, I'm going to. It's just, I don't want to hit him with my
Oh, smack them.
No. I gotta think.
That's all right. At the next stoplight, Washington, we're going to turn right. So not this one, but the next one we're going to turn right. All right. I don't know how many of you saw the movie The Blues Brothers. At the end of the movie, Jake and Elwood are being chased by the cops. Remember that? They go to the plaza, they crash their car into the building, they go upstairs and they pay the taxes on the orphanage. Well, when we turn right at the next corner, which is going to be Washington Avenue, Washington Boulevard,